Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? This your boy Ron, 1/3 of the Melanated Council. Good to see you guys on a lovely Tuesday. Typically, we stream every other Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but then wherever else you're at in the world, that's where we stream. So if you see us going live, tune in. Right now, we're just streaming on YouTube for the time being, but we will get um, access to Twitch soon. So for our Twitch viewers, we got you guys, and also for our people on X/Twitter. Again, we got you guys too as well. So just keep it locked and stay tuned. All right. Who we got? Who we got? Hey, Rocky. How's it going, big homie? How's it going? How's it going? Then, as always, feel free to like, subscribe, enjoy the show, share it, blast it on your social medias wherever you are on. If you're not on social media, still give us that thumbs up. So at least that way we can get into the algorithm to whoever's watching for the most part. Right. So without further ado, trying to get rid of all of the familiars and all of the good stuff because again, it's Tuesday. I know some of my peoples they're coming slowly but surely. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it started and hold it down for us. So at least that way we can get this show moving. So first things first. I know we kind of went away from it a little bit, but we're gonna kind of bring this back. Is our virtual roundtable, our virtual check-in, because we understand that mental health is crucial to everyone. And even if you have a therapist, if you don't have a therapist, we're gonna just open the door up and say, hey, how you doing? How's your day been going? How's your week been going? How was your weekend? What did you do? Did you do anything fun? Did you do anything productive? Those things. So at least that way, you know, when you're out and about in the world doing great things and whatnot, you got people that care about you. You got people that's going to pretty much root for you, make sure you're good and great and everything else. We don't want all your business because what's said on social media tends to stay on social media. So we're not trying to have that. So, just go ahead and share, what you guys do for the weekend. Do you guys have any plans for the 4th of July? How you guys doing, both in a mental standpoint, but also at the same time, just in general, like how you doing, and even if for our people, we're going to type that into the chat too as well. So give me a moment. Oh, I can't type. Excuse me. So there we go. How's everyone doing tonight? And again, you don't gotta tell us everything that's going on, but just give us a little brief snapshot and anything else. And just to kind of help you guys out, I'll go first. So me, I am I'm all right. I'm okay. I've been very much tired a lot more often than none. But even it is because I've been up for like last past few days up until like crazy odd hours of the night, even though I was supposed to be in the bed at a decent time. My bedtime has been anywhere from 2:30, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning on a bad day, and even then on a good day, been going to bed around about 12, 12:30, 1 ish. So you guys can kind of see where your boy is at. I am seeing a therapist, so that's a cool thing. And I know this week I won't be able to see him because it's the 4th, and we normally see each other on Thursdays. But it is what it is. What's up, Chad? How you doing, big homie? How you doing? So pretty much I'm doing all right for the most part. Trying to get some sleep. I know I got my doctor's appointment coming up, so I'll probably have to talk to my doctor, see about possibly putting me on some sleeping pills so I can sleep. So we'll see. We'll see. And then even then, I know I've been on my little health ish journey, so we'll see where I'm at there. Can't make no promises or guarantees, but we're hoping for good reports. So we got that going on. I messed around and downloaded Warframe on my PC, and holy crap, it's the total game changer. If anybody that's a gamer, if you guys like free to play games, check out Warframe. Check out Warframe. Gil, what's up? How you feeling? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree. And me and my therapist, we talked about that. We said we came to a mutual understanding that he's like, dude, you need your rest. You need sleep. He's like, do you know that's what sleep, the benefits of sleep? Like, yes, like I do know sleep is good for my mental health. I know sleep is good for my emotional health. I know it's good for my physical health. Like, I know the need for sleep is good for me. I know that much. But my crazy butt, for whatever crazy odd reason, I just have a really hard time going to sleep. And even then, when I do go to sleep, I only sleep for like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. And I'm pretty much up for the rest of the day as if I got a bunch of energy. And so that's where I'm at. That's my normal. And he was like, dude, he was like, that's not normal. He's like, that's not normal. Not at all. So he had me to do some homework, and I got to turn in my homework to him next week, Thursday, and all other good stuff. But yeah, we're going to get back in. So while we're doing that, I got somebody got to bring it to the stage. And you guys love this person. She is amazing. This is the other part of the trio. Um, what can I say about this person that has not been said other than the fact that she's great? She's amazing. She's wonderful. She's talented. Um, I don't know what else. I mean, if y'all could describe who this person is in your own words, I say go for it. But I mean, I really can't describe this person without using those words and those adjectives, and because again, she's cool. She's a cool person, been knowing this person for years. I would consider this person my best friend, one of my best friends. So yes. So without further ado, I think she has a podcast. I don't know if she's been doing anything recently with that, but we'll find that out. We'll find that out. And again, like I said, she's great. She's amazing. She's awesome. So without any further ado, give it up for the one and only L.
Hey, good evening, good night, everybody. It's been so long since I've heard one of Ron's, introductions. Oh my goodness. Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and sleep is definitely the foundation of just everything. Sleep is so important. Funny enough, I was actually
Yes.
listening to a podcast like yesterday or something like that. Like the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. Hey, Rocky. And he had like a sleep expert on, and he always has like these experts. But
Mhm,
this particular one, I didn't finish it, but it was like kind of interesting because he didn't seem as crazy and stressful as like the other experts. Like usually like other health experts usually are.
mhm,
Like most of them are like most health experts on his podcast will be like, oh, you really need to get this amount of sleep. You need to go to sleep around this time and try to wake up around the same time every day. But like this
mhm,
guy, he was just pretty chill. He was like, you know, yeah, you should get like a good amount of hours of sleep, but like, like you can't expect to always do that every single night because like life happens. People have kids, people are going through things, people are just stressed out about stuff. Like life is gonna happen, is gonna impact your sleep. So like, yeah. Um, so like it was just interesting. Like I gotta
Mhm.
finish it and I'll share it in the Discord with you all because it was just kind of a breath of fresh air because I am very exhausted by like a lot of these podcasts where it's just very, people are trying to help you or they're trying to bring on like these experts
Mhm.
and it's just kind of like a little weird or just kind of biased or I don't know. It's like how much information did they really like not not how much like how much like studies or people did they really get or what have you. It's just like what kind of people, like were these just 42 white women in England and now you're gonna just base pregnancy off of that? Like who it's like, oh, if you get to this amount, if you get to this age, yeah, exactly, experts. Some like of course it's important to like get a lot of people's different perspectives, but
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, as sad as this may sound, is like just because you have a degree doesn't necessarily mean you're an expert. Like there are people with PhDs that are, batty, bat crazy, and it's sad and it can be scary. And context definitely matters too, because like if you have a PhD in like thermal nuclear engineering and you're talking about you know abortion rights for women, I'm like, you probably shouldn't be on the committee for for this. It's,
Mhm.
that's not the same. It's like what you do is important, but it's not this.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so it was just kind of a breath of fresh air. And a couple of weeks ago, he had on Simon Sinek, who's like a motivational business coach, speaker guy thing.
Mhm.
And I think I actually have one of his books because like sometimes when people are leaving the company, like they're like clearing out their offices and giving away like their books. So I think I got one of his books. I don't think I've read it yet, but it was a breath of fresh air for his episode. A lot of people forget that real. Their as and best working. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Like science is usually like it definitely does help us go towards like the right direction, but you know, there's still like a lot of things that need to be like, like peer reviewed, peer tested and things like that. I remember a couple of years ago there was like that thing about the most ideal face or like the most beautiful face was like a white woman. And it was like the actual study I heard was like the most beautiful or ideal white woman face. And I think there was like some all sorts of other stuff with it too, but it was kind of something that wasn't really supposed to like get out there. It was just I think still just kind of like testing. Someone just told me to check his books out. Oh yeah, yeah. Like
Mhm.
I've liked his stuff from like just a brief couple of things that I've seen him like like say and do. I haven't read his books yet, but I don't know. He seems pretty decent. One of the things I did like about his episode on the podcast, because I think he's been on the podcast a few times, but the most recent episode was about friends and making friends, and and that's a huge passion of mine. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the stream. I'm pretty sure I have. Like I'm like working on an app. Like I've designed it and I'm trying to get it created and out there. And the app is to help people make friends. And so I really loved when he started kind of mentioning, you know, um, the blue zones, and blue zones are areas in the world where people live to be like 100 and above, or like late 90s and above sort of thing. And I love that he mentioned that, because if you were to like watch if Helena, and y'all know that, what, wait, what? What is it referring to?
He's getting ahead of He's getting ahead. He's getting ahead. He's getting ahead.
Oh, about the name of the episode. I was like, what? I was like, what about? I was like, oh, people live to that late. No, and yeah. So like he was saying how when it comes to like blue zones, like people, like if you like, if you were to listen to Stephen Bartlett's Diary of the CEO podcast, like every health expert says, don't drink alcohol, don't drink alcohol, don't drink alcohol. And yeah, like the overarching thing of alcohol is like, yeah, it's bad for you. It is poison. When you drink alcohol, you are technically poisoning your body. However, pretty much every single person in blue zones drink alcohol. They don't, I don't know if they drink at Texas, most likely not, but they would have a glass of wine, or something, and, they still live to be really old. So I was always really skeptical when, all these health experts kept saying, like, don't drink alcohol, don't drink alcohol. I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather drink alcohol laughing with friends than not drinking alcohol sitting at home watching TV by myself.
Got a point.
Yeah, it's like laughing with friends is definitely better. But I did want to, because you brought it up, Ron, and we're gonna get to the episode. I like my podcast. It's still going. I did record an episode like probably about a month ago now. However, when I went to go try and edit it, for whatever reason, the program that, like, the Adobe Audition is the program that I use, decided to just cut it in half, and I couldn't Command Z, Control Z, I couldn't undo it to go back to, because it was about like 40 minutes, which was already too long. I like to keep it like 30. And then when I went back to it, it was like 23 minutes. I'm like, what? And it's not like I just like end in like the middle of a word kind of thing. So something just like cuts off. So I'm like really upset. I gotta like re-listen to it. Yeah, I know. I've been meaning to tell you this.
Wow.
I was like, what? Or I'm like in the middle of a thought or something. It just cuts off, and I'm like, what happened to the other 20 minutes? It just poof, disappeared. Like, I could not believe it. I don't know. I do not know. I guess the other half went to Adobe for AI purposes. I don't know.
The world may never know.
Yeah, since we're signing our rights to Adobe, I guess a dog virus ate it. A dog ate my homework. Dog virus. I'm witnessing complete BS and accepting it as true Americanism a few days later. That's a prime example. Yeah. But do y'all know what is not complete BS? I think Ron knows, because I assume he's pointing in my direction at the screen. This person who we're going to bring onto the stream, I have to kind of dust off my introduction prowess, because it's been quite a while.
Go ahead. Yeah. Take your time, El.
Yeah. So this person, as you know, always must come last because he's a gentleman. And because of that, that's why he steals your girl. We got to introduce him last. We got to give him as little screen time as possible. I'm kidding.
Yes.
I'm going to make his introduction for the next 30 minutes now. This man is, you know, he will, America may not be free, but he will definitely free your girl from you. So without further ado, we welcome the one and only Toby.
Let's go.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Cheers to no BS. Truly something. I was at a pool party on Saturday. Well, I showed up like a gentleman. You know, I'm gonna start using that. I showed up like a gentleman. So the pool party was pretty much mostly done, but it was very hot. So who cares? It was dark and apparently it was lightning, but people were still there because Black people love themselves to be outside a pool.
Yeah.
And so I snagged like 4 of these Trulies as well as something else. Because like literally it was just there's an abundance of alcohol still, and I was like, this is not healthy. There's no food and just a ton of drinks. This is like a recipe for disaster. So I'm done.
Yo, that's hilarious.
So I didn't realize this was like a meme because I saw a video that was kind of like just like funny things. Those kind of like ways that you like. I guess things that would turn people off with modern dating or something would be like, I don't know, it would be like she's something that sounds good. Then they give some extra thing, like she doesn't text back. They say, "Oh, let me run."
Oh, that's thing, yeah.
So I remember seeing one of the things was like, yeah, like she likes Chris Brown, goes to concerts, and she's like, "So what's wrong with that?" She paid $1,200 for the meet and greet or whatever, and then he was like, "Well." He was like, I don't really even care. Then the next shot, because normally they just go to the next person, but then it showed a shot of that guy calling the girl and saying, "Girl, you said that you was broke last week. So what is this about meet and greet?" And then it cut to the next person. So what's this about having $1,200 for that meet and greet? I just saw that video a few hours ago, and so I didn't realize this was like a whole thing that like the Chris Brown meet and greet is kind of like its own meme. I know like when Drake tickets were on sale last year, people were talking about you could have bought like a car with a down payment on a car with the price of those tickets. But I never checked the tickets. It was kind of overshadowed, I think, by Beyonce's concert and then Taylor Swift as well. So I just didn't care to like even have that depression of the ticket prices in my head.
True.
For Drake.
I remember Beyonce and Taylor Swift's concerts like help stimulate the economy for like a little bit. I don't think Drake could ever do that.
Oh man, I know for sure Taylor. Beyonce makes sense too, actually.
Yeah, Beyonce's for sure. I know. Yeah.
What a fun time! What a time to be alive. Ironically, Drake maybe not part of that equation, but what a time to be alive. Most expensive breakups. Oh, of course, like yeah, the girl buys the ticket. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't remember exactly. I think I was just talking honestly. I don't know if it was a specific question or I was just mentioning the Truly or the story of how how I got here.
True, make it stop.
Oh.
I know my thoughts exactly.
Oh
gosh.
Man. Mm-hmm.
Gosh. But I was thinking the intros. Yes, that was something that I also had thought of. Was like we haven't done these intros in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that was like a kind of nice little fun throwback. Like, I literally just remembered like I remember when I, if I happened to be the second person on and I was introducing Ron or L, and then me, of course, coming on. So
Yes.
good times, y'all. Good times. And we didn't even necessarily have that. I'm gonna go rewatch a lot of our old episodes because I've always been meaning to do that. I feel like I've high key not watched a lot of those, if not most of those, and even episodes that I wasn't on because sometimes we rotated. And I'm like, I should really watch it because I'm kind of curious to see some stuff. and
Mhm.
especially like when we had some guests, in the way that we introduced them, or if they were already there, when we started. 'Cause sometimes that was the case
Mhm.
too. So just a little fun memory lane, because
Yeah.
it was 4 years ago plus a month.
Yeah.
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 Yes. 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 Memory lane has been good. It's been good to me. You know, just and even then, because I know we got to get into the topic and whatnot. Because yeah, uh, walking down memory lane has been very.
That was such a good song.
That's great. That's hilarious. Yes.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Only to give her back. Like, you know, I only wanted the cooking skills. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. However, if she gives me dessert, I might be obliged to eat it. So
Okay.
just saying.
That's a factual. That's a factual fact right there.
Anyways, like I was saying before, yes, walking down memory lane and even then watching a lot of our previous episodes was very nostalgic for me. And I was like, man, we started literally quite from the bottom and now we're here in a weird way. And it's like, it's been fun. It's been fun. And even then just watching like how um, a lot of times we'll go in one direction to go to another direction to go to another direction, but we've never truly lost our identity as a group. As far as most people, they try to do the same thing and they normally fall off and tank and it's like not heard of. So it's just goes to show that even if people who do content creation, whatever the case may be, you stay true to yourself and everything else is going to fall into place. Everything else will fall into place. So, um, you guys want to get into the topic?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
All right. So, um, I'm gonna be like transparent as much as possible, and you know, as Mark put it, diabolical as much as possible. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And so I know these last few months, days, years, uh, your boy has not been very patriotic whatsoever. Not even in the slightest. Like, if someone were to ask me, like, hey, if we paid for you and your family to leave the United States and never come back, would you do it? Absolutely. In a heartbeat. Yep. Yes, I will go. We already got passports. Like, the only thing keeping us here is the fact that plane tickets to move a family of 5 plus some pooches is more than what I have in my current bank account. So, you know, to be able to go and live a whole new life somewhere else, absolutely, I would do it. Absolutely. And even then, like me and the missus, we already talked about like if we wanted to retire, like kind of where we wanted to retire at, and kind of segueing back to our previous live stream, we're like, yeah, like if grandfather-in-law is saying the Dominican Republic is a place to be at, then absolutely,
Mhm.
definitely go, definitely will go. And so going through a lot of the stuff that's been going on, watching a lot of the TV, news, reading a bunch of news articles, clips, and everything else, I got to thinking, like, you know, is America really free as it says it is? Or is it really a figment of somebody's imagination that got tarnished over the years? And even then, what kind of pretty much prompts me to kind of thinking about those lines was my history class I took back in college. And it was more so from the 1500s up until like the early 1800s. So that time frame, as far as America becoming pretty much America and how the founding fathers envision America should be, and how um, free in comparison to other places. And I'm gonna get into that. Free as in the idea and the concept of what the founding fathers wanted for each and every citizen that called America home. And what I mean by that is this: when who was it? I want to say it was George Washington. It was either George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, one of those two. But I'm pretty sure it's George Washington. Basically, George Washington said it like this. He was like, the true form of democracy, I'm paraphrasing this, is having a lot of different people, ideas to be able to come to the table and be heard without necessarily getting frowned upon. The moment when democracy as we know it is only controlled by two groups of people instead of the many, we're in deep trouble, or democracy as we know it no longer will exist. You fast forward till today, you see that actually happening. And even then, like I shared, in our Discord chat, like I really wasn't intrigued as far as watching the debate, because I'm like, okay, we have two senior citizens who want to be the face of the American people. Think about what I'm just saying, you guys. Two senior citizens who are vying to be the face of the American people. One who's just got criminally charged, indicted for one. And then we have another one who mentally may not be the sharpest crayon in the whole box, but is at least trying to do something. It's like, do I really want these two to represent me and my family and my community? And like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so, which again prompted me to ask a question, okay, is America really free, or are we stuck in this illusion that we have quote unquote freedom at what cost?
Is this a hypothetical question, or are you asking everybody?
Oh no, I'm asking this one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm asking. Oh, I'm asking. Mark, you called this one out.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is this: Is America really free, or is the figment, or is the freedom that we have a figment of somebody's imagination, and if so, at what cost? And again, like I said, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, like I said, it's pretty much been over years.
Oh, you wrote it too, Toby. So.
Right. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'll say this much, then I'll leave it up. I'll leave the door open for everybody else. But as for me, in the past few years, I've been finding myself less patriotic than anything else. Very much so less patriotic. Are there some kind of key issues that I will, stand on support? Absolutely. Are there some other issues that I will debate and pretty much be against? Again, absolutely. But also at the same time, I'm like, the way how this country has been going, I'm not feeling it. I'm not. I'm done. Open up the floor to anybody else.
Yeah, I was posting in the chat. Let me highlight the other comments, but like I said, I do feel like it's freer than a lot of other countries, but I do feel like it can easily be taken away. Like, you know, I can talk about abortion until I am blue in the face. But it is a true, like, real time showing of what the Supreme Court is willing to, like, can do, is willing to do. And that, this was what, like 2 years ago? And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can't really stop fighting, because, like, you can't just be complacent or think that that's a chill thing to happen, because when you have it left to, like, the states, then the states are going to just do something crazy. Like, women aren't different in different states, like, our our anatomy works the exact same way. So, like, to have it be like, oh, this state has 6 weeks, this one has 10, this one has 12, this one has 15, this one has 27, this one has 24, it's no. Because, to be quite honest, those weeks, like, when they say 10 weeks, 15 weeks, 6 weeks, like, there isn't really any scientific backing to it. It's literally propaganda. It's literally just advertising, because people like even numbers, or like numbers that end in 5 or 0. There's no scientific backing behind it, because if you've ever met a pregnant person, then you would know that, like, at any point in the pregnancy, something can happen. Like, it is a very volatile time for women. So, to just say, no, you can't have it, like, you can't have an abortion no matter what, even some say, with the exception of rape or incest, some don't. There isn't really any scientific backing as to why you shouldn't. It's just because they just felt like it, essentially. Like, there really isn't any, you know yeah. I mean, true. Yeah, America's always been for sale. There isn't really any scientific backing behind it. And then, just like this past, like, couple of days, I wouldn't even say weeks, just this past couple of days, with all these rulings and decisions by the Supreme Court, where they undid, like, the Chevron case. I I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in law. I'm not really so I didn't know about this until it was overturned. And apparently it's, like, instead of having um like, non-elected people in government who are in charge of, like, the EPA and the CDC and things of that nature, they're just going to, these people are usually experts. Like, they usually come at, like, if I'm understanding this correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Um, sorry, I just saw what Rocky said, and, like, please correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, I think the people who are in charge of the EPA or CDC are usually, um, I think usually, like, whoever, like, pretty much, like, whichever house or whatever's in charge kind of brings them in. I could be wrong, or, like, I don't know, but it's usually experts. It's usually experts in the field who are usually in charge of, like, the EPA or the CDC. And now, like, since that's been overturned, then, like, your cousin's friend can just get a job as, like, the head of the CDC, because vibes. like, or something like that. Like, definitely correct me if I'm wrong for those of you who know more about the Chevron case. But apparently, like, this is something that could affect literally everybody. Like, another one that was it overturned or something? But like, it's the one where if you've been on social media, you probably heard like, oh, now the president could pretty much is immune to any crimes.
It was kicked back down to the, I guess, the appeal. I'm bad with the courts, like district versus appeal, or district versus appellate courts, but it was kicked down to a lower court, which effectively meant that they were gonna not accept that he could be charged, but they're letting the lower court define it, I guess, in their own way. I don't fully understand the legalese of it.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's kind of the point. And when it gets kind of confusing, that's when it's bad. Like, I mean, yeah, like legalese stuff is always kind of a bit confusing, but it's like, oh, when they're just being super vague about things, and you know, that's when it starts to get really bad. That's funny, Rocky. L's for lawyer. Sometimes I think about like, you know, I remember in 10th grade, I had like an English teacher and I wrote like an essay or something. I remember when she graded it and gave it back, she was like, I see a lawyer in you. And I always thought about that because I was just like, huh, I never thought a lawyer ever because I just don't know. Probably because I don't know any lawyers. I don't know anything about lawyering. But sometimes I think about like, I wonder what it would take to like go to law school and things like that. Because I think it'd be kind of fun. I'm good at remembering dates. So like to actually like, you know, remember things and to be like, oh, 1984 Chevron case. What I am scared about though is and I don't quite know what the case was or what it was that made it legal, but in 1988, which is not that long ago, women were able to open, like, to start a business without needing a man. I gotta look up like what the case was or what the thing was, but that's kind of scary because if they're overturning, you know, Roe v. Wade, which was 1974, and then the Chevron case, which was 1984, you know, they could just overturn things from like 1988 or like start to, you know, do things like that. So I'm kind of like scared because it's like, oh, that could just be overturned at some point. I don't know if it ever will, but like it can, and that's very, very frightening.
Mm. Yeah, or like even applying for credit cards. I've heard those type of things.
Yeah, that was 1974 as well, without needing a man, I believe so. Like all thanks to like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like when she got up in there and like then women were allowed to do things because it was just men, and men were just like, what? A credit card for a woman? She's just gonna spend it on getting her nails done, and that's a travesty.
That's travesty. Literally the word I was thinking.
Yeah, it's like you need to be spending it on, you know, golf clubs and NFL season tickets.
There's something I was thinking about. Oh, these comments are interesting too. But there's something I think the thing that Chad was saying. First of all, I have to look more into that case too. That was a very like kind of simple explainer, and I appreciate you for putting that, Chad, because I think there's a lot of just sort of like bite size. We just need like more bite sized information of like what actually is happening here. The way I heard of it was like regulatory agencies have a lot of leeway to interpret certain laws when there's ambiguity. And now the ambiguity has to be resolved by courts instead of those agencies. Now, I hadn't thought of it explicitly with like, I guess that's like where the lawsuits come in, is like someone sues something, the agency could have free range to kind of pursue how they need to like the idea is that there's a law that exists. The agency needs to enforce the law, executive branch, and then they kind of resolve the ambiguities themselves with their technical experts. Instead, now it has to go back to Congress to update, I guess, any law that has ambiguity. So it's, yeah, I think I haven't digested it really because there's been so much happening that I haven't even digested. Like, there's things that happened that I didn't even realize had happened. And I was like, oh, okay, that decision came down. That's cool.
Also, happy birthday, Amira.
Oh, snap.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks for
Happy
joining us. I'm
Oh, that's
sad.
so
I'm
funny.
sad. It's a sad topic, but happy birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, July 2nd.
My bad.
That's an easy one. You're 420 sold this out. I'm kind of curious what you mean about the selling out. Now, 9/11 for sure. That one, in the past, there were certain, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything could be brought up. There's some things that have been punted. Like, there were like 2 abortion cases for this year that I think Supreme Court is like, nope, we're not touching this. I know when Donald Trump was trying to challenge certain things with the voting, that just went straight back. Like, we're not touching that. But there have been a lot of things that are getting picked up. So it will be interesting to see kind of how things go. Oh, you cancers. That reminds me of how many friends can I think of? Friends from the very same city in Massachusetts. Very, very interesting people. 3 of them had the same birthday, July 13th. I was like, how do you guys have the same birthday? 2 of y'all are promoters. It's kind of insane. And all 3 of you are African from different countries. Like, what is actually going on right now? And then 1 girl is Black American. So I'm like, we're just rounding all of this out. They were very interesting people, let's just say. I think one of them was pretty chill. The rest of them kind of had less chill personalities, but I love them still.
That's true. That's true. Amira's from Massachusetts.
You are.
Yeah.
That's right. That's so funny.
You can tell she's from Massachusetts because she knows how to spell it.
Yes. me still narrowly misspelling it after living there for almost 5 years at times.
Oh my goodness, it is. And it's like, you can definitely sound it out, but it's true respelling. Like, yeah, sounding it out can kind of work, but it's like, what has 2 S's, what has 1, what has 2 T's, what, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a mouthful of a state name. But the president thing, they don't even have to turn over evidence anymore to determine if it's official. And with Chevron, things long since settled can be appended and relitigated. Yeah.
Huh.
No, like I don't like. I understand you feeling doomer about everything, Ender Buckley. Like I get it because I'm still am like in a annoyingly dark place. I've been having like the urge to just like go on like Instagram or TikTok and just make like short videos to just like educate people, and I'm like, but I'm not even fully versed in this, but at the same time, there's people who are just spreading straight up lies. Earth is flat. Like with confidence, with gusto. Like, you gotta inform people. But yeah, what are you gonna say?
I will say, like, have they not seen any of the clippings from NASA when, we send astronauts legitimately up in space and they're recording the world as it's turning around and it's not flat, it's like a sphere, even though, we can only see like one part of it at a time. Like, it's not flat. It's actually a ball. It's a globe. It's a sphere. It's circular. It's round. Otherwise, they would have seen, edges and corners from outer space.
Hmm.
Just saying.
Like human beings would have seen something like that too. That's something like they've known the Earth has been around for centuries. He's like Christopher Columbus knew it was round. Like it wasn't like he was out there to prove it. No, he knew. They knew that.
Yeah, when they were sailing.
Yeah, like freaking was like Galileo and like old astronomers were like learning about the stars and the galaxies from just looking at it with like their bare eyes, seeing Saturn, maybe Saturn. You could probably see Saturn sometimes, but like I know I've seen Jupiter with my bare eyes, which is kind of cool. It looks like a star that just doesn't move or is just kind of fixed in place for like several nights of the year, depending on the time of which year and the time and stuff like that. So I was in astronomy class, and we had a lab from like 8 to 10 o'clock at nights, which was really fun. So like sometimes we'd go outside and take the telescopes and like look up, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's Jupiter. And it looked just like Jupiter. Like from the pictures, it looks just like it.
Hey, Jupiter better look just like Jupiter. Otherwise, I'm demanding a refund of
Right.
everything.
I know.
Everything I've been told is a lie.
Right.
Just saying.
On one hand, this kind of sucks, but on the flip side, it's kind of good that people are realizing that their own inaction has consequences. For a few decades, people have gotten comfortable and complacent. Yeah, and I'm just afraid that they're going to just continue being complacent, though. Like,
yeah, these voting is just such a like there's so many reasons why people would vote or don't care to vote, and it's like even with some of these things straight up, people still wouldn't want to vote for a person. Like I think the midterms for sure, there seems to be more action, special elections, especially with like abortion, and then like even like some things with marijuana, that one in like Ohio. So I feel like there are certain, and then even like that one thing in Ohio that was like, we're going to change the threshold for ballot initiatives to be 60%, which was like a very, very not even well concealed plot at just trying to overturn or like criminalize abortion basically in Ohio. But like that got shot down pretty heavily. So I feel like there are a lot of things where people are like, I need to go to these ballot initiatives and vote in these special elections, even when people play games and try to like move elections in like weird times where people don't normally vote, and it's like they're still not doing very well. So there's some hope that I think people will they do take certain things seriously. But I think when it comes to candidates, especially like the presidential, there's just so much other stuff that you don't fully factor in. Yeah, I should vote because they could appoint the justices and do this, and people might think, oh, it's just fear mongering. Like, I've even heard people say Trump didn't do all the thing, like the world didn't fall apart in the first term, and so people clearly saw that things didn't go that badly. But it's like, well, I mean, okay, it's not just directly that he did something crazy. It's like there's actions that you can look at and things. I mean, it's just the reality of like what's going on with the court, and I feel like a lot of people are not really super down with a lot of what's happening outside of like extreme activists who have been trying to like overturn whatever or deal with whatever. A lot of things are a bit like, I don't know if that should have happened. So I feel like it's just difficult to translate because with presidential races, it's so much more like the personality or just like other things. Like you said, Ron, like you got these two geriatrics. Unfortunately, one seems to display more geriatricness than the other. The other one is just not an okay person and could be possibly going to jail. But the other guy is not helping himself, as we saw in the debate. Though I don't know, I guess he's been doing okay with other appearances. So it's like people might see that and just be like, yeah, I can't do this, but then not take into account the implications of what's happening with the courts.
That's true, Chad. Like,
yeah,
so it's like the who you pick for president has to like be very important. It can't just be like someone who's just like slightly better. I mean, I guess this is like a good thing so people can actually finally go to like their primaries or volunteer or promote like their candidates and things like that. Like that's but do I think that's gonna happen? No. I mean, I love to be proven wrong, so hopefully, like, definitely prove me wrong, folks, because I want to be proven wrong. I just know it's very hard to get people to do things because it's very easy not to do things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true, Rocky. Like that's a good point because it's not like if Dems win, then that law just goes away. It's still there. Like, so, like, to go on what you were saying, Toby, about like there's two geriatric folks running for president. Like, I'll be honest, like I don't care too much about that because like even if one of them were to die, it's like it goes to the VP. Like that's the whole point of a VP almost.
Right.
But like it's like, okay, so if it falls to the VP, then who's gonna be president? It's like, okay, there'll be Kamala Harris or whoever's gonna be Trump's VP. And that that could just be like very, very problematic, So like that's what I'm more so like that's like what I'm worried about because like could Trump live for another 4 years? Yeah, probably. Rich people tend to live long, so like I believe so. Also, money is a mindset as richness is a mindset as well, wealth. So he probably feels it in his heart that he is rich. So like he's probably gonna live for a very, very long time. I think the same for Biden as well, honestly. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he lives until he's 90. Do I want him working until he's 90? Do I want him to be president? No. Because he's 81 now. He's going to be 82, I think, like in November, October, sometime. And then he's like for another 4 years, he's going to be what, like 86? Like that is very old. And again, don't forget, Trump is 4 years younger than Biden. I know that it makes it seem like he is so much younger. It's like he's not. Like
for Jesus.
Yeah. And tapioca basic income. Sorry to highlight that. Sorry, but like I didn't want to talk about like what Ender was saying though. It was like his family goes back to the revolution and then some on both sides. We were at Yorktown. I don't even know where we'd go. He's a joke. We'll still be here after the country. Now it's a little too real. Yeah. There's more distractions than ever. For some reason, TV stopped working. We live in a different country by the end of the year. We live in a different country by the end of the year with all the political change. Is it too much distractions or too much information coming from everywhere? Is it? I mean, I guess like different types of information it can be considered a distraction, yeah, but like we've just been getting so much information that it's like we're still very skeptical of like what's true and what's not. And I think we're still kind of healing from that from Trump's presidency. I was thinking lately that that like, and I could just be biased in my own bubble of some sort, but it doesn't seem like I am. From just seeing like what is actually happening, especially with the Supreme Court, like you can't deny that. Like with Biden's presidency, at least I feel like news hasn't been as confusing. If that makes sense. Like I just remember, from like 2017 to 2020, 2021, it was just like I don't know what the F is going on sort of thing. Like it was just a whole bunch of like craziness, like with like the Muslim ban, with like the airport crap, with like what else was just like happening during Trump's presidency that was just like, are you freaking kidding me? Like I felt like he just kept brown nosing Putin. Like I didn't like that kind of relationship. And also like a lot of like Trump's like appointees or people like in his space would like be going to Russia, which was just like very strange. And there was like a lot of like meetings and things like that was like very strange. Of course, it was the the January 6th insurrection. Like that's like that's something that became a date. You could just say January 6th, and I'm talking about January 6th, 2021, even though it's been 3 years since. Like when I say 9/11, you know what I'm talking about. Pushing a Newsom swap. We've crossed information into too much distraction. We're very unaware of perception of that man, or they did that to Harris. Can you explain that, Ender? I'm just having trouble understanding. We count the CNN and MSNBC pushing a Newsom swap. Oh, because they want Gavin Newsom to be they want Biden to step down and Gavin Newsom to step in. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, so I've heard of this theory, like that Newsom, because Newsom was very kind of prominent. Well, it depends on what circles you're in, but he was like debating Ron DeSantis at some point, and there was he was on Fox News also making a case for why liberalism is better. Where and I think in some ways it's kind of smart because Newsom was like a punching bag after what he did during COVID, going to a freaking high-end restaurant while everyone is like locked down, just like really foolish stuff. And he almost got recalled. It didn't come close in the results, but the fact that he was like the second governor to be recalled or be put on the ballot is like not great. So I think like he became more aggressive with like trying to like be this sort of Democratic standard bearer. And like this one person described it as like a shadow campaign in case Biden just like collapses. And so I didn't realize those CNN and MSNBC were actually talking about the option of maybe swapping. I have not been following a lot of mainstream news. I haven't even been following the alternative news that I used to as much. I think it's just been like there's just a lot happening in the debate. I tried like watching some of it on like the CNN live stream. It was later that night, so I think the debate had just ended. It was like 11 something p.m. and I was trying to watch it, but I probably only got like 30 or 40 minutes in, and I was just like, I don't think my life is worth this. Actually, it wasn't really that bad. I just feel like there's just other things that I was like, no, it's late and I need to go to bed, and this debate isn't. Nothing is happening here. Like at least the 2020 was very interesting because you had Biden going against Trump was his first term. There was a lot of kind of like stuff, and it was COVID, so it was a bit more like on brand to also sit here and just watch long videos. Now I'm just like, I don't know if I could do this. But yeah, the Newsom thing is a theory. I'm just surprised that it is being pushed more by mainstream media. That's an interesting conversation to get into, is how much people have been sort of talking within Democratic circles about their concern, to put it very lightly, with Biden and his performance. So
as someone who lives in Florida, I can tell you that Florida is California. So like whatever they want to say what's going on that's bad with California, it's happening in Florida. Like we get fires too. I don't think that it's been more so like in like the Everglades, or not burning down anybody's homes, but still we get that. We get hurricanes. There's a hurricane that's going to be approaching Jamaica soon. I don't think it's going to come to Florida, but it's already, July 2nd, and it's like a Category 5. And then DeSantis is like doesn't want anyone to like mention climate change ever. He's trying to like get that removed from mention, which is like of all states, like we are not like climate change should just be a bipartisan thing in Florida, but
Yeah.
he's still trying to make it not. Like, you know how there's like certain things like marijuana is just bipartisan in like Montana or something because I think it's legal there.
Yeah,
It just is. That's how climate change should be down here. It should just be a bipartisan thing. It's like we don't have to explain it to the other 49 states. We know what's going on, sort of thing. But no,
I thought it was too. Like I thought there were actually Republican like Congress people or like local people who actually like, especially who were there on, like this basically the regions that are more coastal that happen to have more Republican representation. I actually thought a lot of them did have policy and things that they were trying to work on for the real flooding and possibility of stuff. So that's actually very depressing that like there's, I don't know, that it's just not.
Like I think it's one of those things where it's like they're probably gonna still try to like fix it, but they're not gonna try to like, make it into like a big thing. So like they're still like have like their constituents for like the rest of the Republican Party, but or rest of the country or whatever to keep on brand while still fixing it. Sort of like, it's not like abortion is illegal is banned for them, So it's like they just have to just do the whole, push out the propaganda machine of that to just because like climate change is just not part of their thing, especially for Project 2025. That's like part of Project 2025. For those of you who don't know, it's like a Republican manifesto to pretty much just slide America into fascism, essentially. It's just like it's like a 920 page like handbook on what to do. So like for whoever's the next Republican president, they'll just slide into just fascist dictatorship. I wish I was exaggerating. I'm not. It's incredibly concerning. So like them reversing or overturning Chevron, definitely part of it. Banning abortion is definitely part of it. Giving the president just making up like these new rules that he's like kind of has infinite power is part of it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to like explain it to people. I never really studied World War II or the rise of fascism and Hitler and things like that in Germany in like the world like the 1920s 1930s. My boyfriend, who is a like a history major, like you can literally ask him like damn near anything about anywhere. It was like, well, what happened in this country in the 20s, and then he'll just know. So like I asked him like how did fascism rise in Germany. He was like, well, if you want to get to understand World War II, you have to understand World War I. And he was actually just telling me this pretty much before the stream, because I'll be honest, I don't know. I've just played several games of Secret Hitler, which is a great game and it's fun. But you also see how like it also teaches you like kind of like fascism in a way. Like at least one part of it of like giving somebody just infinite power. And you're just, and if you're a fascist, you have to like lie and and stuff like that just so people can trust you, so then you can elect Hitler, and when you elect Hitler you win the game.
Jesus.
And it's easier to, I don't know, like you have to pass liberal policies and fascist policies, and there's more like fascist cards than liberal cards. Like there's nothing on the cards, it's like these little tokens, and you have to lie saying like, oh, there was no liberal cards, I only had fascist cards because there's more fascist cards, and like so people will believe you when like you could actually give them a choice of liberal or fascist if you actually had it in your hand. It's a whole thing, but it's a fun game. But oh, you don't know this history. Yeah, I know. That's scary because like it's so fascinating, and I don't know why. Like I know why, but it's like it's sad, you know, because I was just thinking of this today too. Like history, like the things that I didn't like in school is what I ended up liking later on. Like reading, I really like reading. It's just when you had me read crap like Jane Eyre and The Grapes of Wrath and like a separate piece, it's like no. Even though a separate piece wasn't that bad, but like like some of the other books were just like, why do I have to read this? Like why do I have to read a book that has like no steamy parts in it? Like, and it's just like white people existing, and you're supposed to find like the symbols, like oh, so and so was symbolic of Jesus Christ. Like, how was I to know that? What if that wasn't even true? What if the person just shared the exact same initials as Jesus Christ? Sorry, I'm going back into like high school me, but like, and also like another thing was history. I did not like history. You know, like when I learned about world history, it was just like you started in Egypt and you just kind of went over the places. I think that was the only country in Africa that you learned about. Honestly, I think it was Egypt because you start like Egypt and you go like Mesopotamia and like Greek and like Greece and Italy, and then you come back to like the United States. So you just kind of do that. You don't learn anything about Asia, I don't think. Maybe a bit, or like, which like that's so important. So, Asian Africa is so important. But yeah, so like history is actually just like very interesting. Like it's very interesting. It's very, very fascinating. But it's just scary that it's things that really happen and then you see it happening and it's just repeats itself and it's very aggravating. If you didn't do a great wait till you're doing book reports on the Bible.
Something that you just said, Al, that I was thinking about. I think, when it comes to history, my God, I do remember learning about the ancient civilizations. Most of them kind of in the Eastern, like you have like like you said, Egypt, Mesopotamia was huge. Actually, we did learn though about ancient like Yuan, or it might not have been Yuan, but it was definitely some kind of like China because you had the there's like rivers. Everything was around a river because fertility. So there was like the Ganges River, I think, or the Yellow River, maybe both. There was the Gupta, that was classical. This is like pre-classical or prehistoric. You had like whatever ancient Indian civilization was there, and then you had like the Mayans or whatever you kind of call the ancient civilizations. But my mom, I remember, because this was AP World History, my mom was like, very interesting how there's no African ancient civilizations. And I feel like even I was kind of defensive, like, oh, well, you know, they're just basing it off of blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, I'm just making a comment. It's just interesting. So I think my mom kind of woker than me in some ways.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
She mentioned, because obviously she's from Africa and everything. She kind of just said that. And I was like, yeah, that is interesting that you have these 5 civilizations. And I mean, they are in diverse places in the world. And of course, Egypt is Africa, but demographically it's different than a lot of sub-Saharan Africa. But I don't know. It's interesting just looking at it. And so there's a lot of stuff that you kind of learn or that you go in a pipeline, but then there's a lot of things that you kind of don't learn. I liked my world history class, but I think there still was a lot that it's just hard to cover everything. And then U.S. history, for sure, there's so much that doesn't get covered, and that's one country. Damn. The foundational river valley civilizations. Yes. Let's see, the counterattack is required watching. I actually don't know. Those Ender Buckley. Those I don't think I know those.
Those Gundams. I know. I've heard of. Honestly, I've only heard of Origins and Unicorn. I don't think I've ever heard of Zeta or Counterattack.
Yeah. Gundam.
Yes.
Yeah, I always knew of Gundam, but it just was. I did not have like an old anime phase, so when it came to Gundams and like,
I mean, Unicorn's pretty new.
okay, fair,
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't know why they spent so much time going to the War of 1812. Freaking war! I guess it was like the first war that the U.S. got into as a free country, so it's like a big deal. You know, Britain was feeling some type of way, and they were like, "Oh no, you didn't." It's been like a few decades, and we're gonna come for what's ours. I feel like conversely, there's like a bunch of stuff that was skimmed over. Like there was like apparently there's a Spanish American War that was like barely a thing with like President William McKinley. I couldn't tell you what happened there. Maybe over Hawaii or no, what country? There was some territory or country, Puerto Rico. I don't even know what it was. There was some island that we probably had no business being on anyway that we were like fighting Spain over in like 1898. I'm like, what happened there? Because no one talks about that. Same thing with like Hawaii and like overthrowing the King. Was it Kamehameha? Like the original Kamehameha. It's like, yeah, there was like some actual pretty messed up things that, like, we talk about the Trail of Tears, which is good. We do talk about that Andrew Jackson, who should be shamed like eternally. But then, like, what happened with the Hawaiians that we kind of just deposed their leadership? Anyone want to talk about that? I don't know. There's some really strange things that we just don't talk about, I feel like, in U.S. history. Lord have mercy. Philippines. Yeah, I think you're right. Thank you, Chad and Gil. And yeah, because they're the only country that we actually colonized. Like, you know, for all that the U.S. has done, we at least didn't. We're not Belgium, so I guess that's a star. I guess that's a gold star. We're not Belgium and King Leopold. So as long as we're not him, I guess we can pat ourselves on the back. Belgium was like kind of the worst, and they like colonized just a few people. Then Britain was sort of the big one, but I don't know. It's all just too much with imperialism. The U.S. we got away with colonizing Philippines, and I guess that was okay. /S, but so yeah. So yeah. See, I don't even know. Like, I really don't even know what happened there. Like, I didn't know that we had colonized them, but I couldn't tell you really a lot of what really happened. Same thing with Alaska. I'm not quite sure what really went down with making them a state. I guess maybe the same as that happened with the rest of the Western frontier, but I feel like that's a pretty far reach to go like past your own borders above Canada. I mean, I don't know when we got Alaska, but I feel like Canada had to have been a.
It was 1959.
Ooh,
I think both Hawaii and Alaska was 1950. I saw it. I was watching, I think, a TikTok probably like today about things that are older than Biden and Trump.
Oh, older. Okay, that's maybe better than.
No, younger. My bad, younger.
Oh,
sorry.
No.
Yes. No, you reacted correctly the first time I said it incorrectly. But like, yeah, things that are younger than Biden and Trump. One of the things was color TV. Trying to remember other things that are like that are younger than Trump, but like and Biden. But yeah, like I can't imagine of all the unprecedented things I've lived through, I've yet to live through like a new state. I think we are owed that at least. I think we should get a new state.
That is interesting, actually. Pre-Corbin, not much about other tribes before the trail. Yeah, there's a bunch of like the Indian cowboy, like the Indian American wars. I remember learning about a lot of that in the 1800s. I do remember learning about quite a bit of that, Custer's Last Stand, and a whole lot of stuff. But yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say too, the circle back just like a little bit. I know to Rocky and whatnot. Somehow, a lot of people they skip over Benito Mussolini, who was a dictator out of Italy, who was around the same time of Stalin, of Hitler, and how like between Hitler and Mussolini, they were more so the to put it like this, they were more so the face of fascism, and what it looked like if it actually pretty much made its way to the United States. You know, it is like, yeah, this is a scary thought, and then listening to like a lot of like the older people in my community talk about how like, yeah, if Trump was in office, he was calling out, Antifa because, of course, Antifa's all about going against fascism. Like, well, if Trump is calling out Antifa and saying Antifa's a real thing, wouldn't you think that fascism is a real thing too as well, and that it's actually happening, and that the reason why he's calling them out is to hide the fact that he's trying to start up fascism himself? I mean, why else would he be buddy with somebody like Putin, who really is like the central figure in Russia? It's not a coincidence. It's really not a coincidence if you think about it. It's really not. And it's like, if he's learning what it's going to take in order for him to have complete control, complete power, I mean, a lot of the stuff that he was doing during his presidency, it lined up with fascism. It really did. It lined up with it. And if this man gets back in the presidency, it's not Biden who we need to worry about creating fascism. No, it's Trump. And which is like, you guys are missing the obvious. But, I'm young. I'm dumb. I don't know anything. I don't know my world history. It's not like I went to, school who actually devoted time to talk about, hey, these are the things you need to watch out for. These are the key people, and these are the reasons why you need to watch out for it, because history tends to repeat itself. And if we don't, if we haven't learned anything from history, it's bound to repeat itself until we get it. And then it was somebody had made a comment, and actually it was in regards to Alaska and Hawaii, because I remember talking about this one in my history class too as well, where the reason why both of those two, especially Hawaii, became states, Alaska and Hawaii, were more so due to the fact of military positioning. Because if you think about it, the reason why you got Hawaii there is due to the fact to keep an eye on Japan. You got that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also for Alaska, if you actually think about it, Alaska's in the backyard of Russia.
Yeah.
Alaska's in the backyard. Alaska's in the backyard of Russia. So if you wanted to invade a country, the best way to do it is from a position where they won't be able to see. With Alaska being so far up north, they can still see what's going on in Russia and be able to communicate that down to the rest of the United States if Russia decided to come the back way. If. So those two places were more so key military states than anything else. So there's a lot of, quite literally. And even then, like the also the argument was the thing between Russia and Alaska, that at one point in time, this is what scientists and theorists said, that at one point in time, Alaska and Russia, they were once connected. However, there was a piece or a chunk of land that actually fell that separated them, more like a land bridge. And even then, because they were saying that if you look at a lot of the northern Russians who are kind of like built for the freezing cold, in comparison to a lot of the natives in Alaska and in some parts of Canada, how a lot of them, they very much look very similar in a ways, and they kind of been built to last longer through those harsher winters. I would kind of sit and think about it, like, yeah, that brings a good point. Because if you wanted to almost isolate yourself from the rest of the world or be self-sufficient, you will be built to withstand harsher climates and harsher temperatures, but also be able to basically defend for yourself. Because again, you're built for, or you are made for those harsher conditions versus anywhere else. I'm like, yep, that makes a good point. Makes a really, really, really valid good point. And which also brings us back to the main topic, where it's talking about, like, okay, is America really free? And of course, we're seeing a lot of yeses, we're seeing a lot of no's, but at the same time, it's like a lot of our history is being wiped out. A lot of the things that we've learned, or the things that we were supposed to learn in elementary school, middle school, and high school, is now being pretty much stripped away from us. And now we're like, okay, what in the world do we do? How do we combat this thing? Because we know that if it continues, a lot of what we've learned is pretty much going to be unlearned. And the next generation coming up, they're going to be clueless. They're going to be clueless, and they're going to ask a lot of questions that arguably we may not have the answers for, because all that stuff is gone. All that stuff is gone. But again, it's being done on purpose.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of crazy. This is going to be a weird comparison, but it's kind of like in Attack on Titan when the
Uh-oh.
like, I can't remember the name of the Titan, but it's the one where, like, holds all the secrets, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
always
How old is this?
it always got passed down to, like, somebody within, like, the royal family or something like that, I think, or someone within a particular family. I think it was the royal family. And once, like, the person knows and understands the actual history, they just keep it to themselves, and, like, they don't share the actual real history. And so, like, they just kept doing that for, I guess, not that long. So I think they were only in the wall for like 100 years, which is enough time to, like, completely wipe out, enough information about, a society, like the world, actually. Like, once again, I was talking to my boyfriend about this again, how, like, pretty much every 100 years, we kind of just go back into some kind of circle with, they say history repeats itself, or history is just a circle. So, Nazism is only 104 years old. So we're, like, at the point of, like, okay, we're at that point of, going back into a circle. But, like, it's almost like, to compare it back to the Titan thing. It's to compare it. It's like, I see, like, Governor DeSantis, like, trying to, curate history and what can be taught. You see this a lot in, different states as well. The bans on books, even though he's trying to, like, slow this down, but let's see how that goes or whatever. And it's almost like they're really trying to just curate it to, like, make it so that you can't know the past. MTV, I don't know if you heard about this. I have to look it up a little bit more, but MTV recently, like, a lot, like, I think, I can't remember what it was, but, like, a lot of, like, their information and, like, TV shows and art and stuff is just gone, because, like, I think they had to delete it or get rid of it due to, I think, I don't know, like, a falling out or getting bought out or something. I can't quite remember, but it's terrible because, like, all that stuff, it's like, where was it archived? Because this is, like, knowing about, like, MTV Raps and MTV News and, like, just, like, TV shows like Guy Code, Girl Code, Decoded, like, all these little things, is probably just like now gone. I think it's their online website. I can't remember what it was. So if y'all know what I'm talking about when it comes to MTV, let me know. I know that like HBO Max is going through some crap now. Like they're trying to, I guess, put their stuff more towards Netflix. They started out with like just HBO originals like Insecure, and now it's like Max originals is on Netflix. It's like that's worrisome. What's happening with this? Is it just like a little preview sort of thing, or are they in like dire straits and they're asking for help and we're not responding because the whole streaming service thing is bonkers? But
Right.
a lot of us don't have like physical media anymore. Like we stream a lot of stuff, we stream a lot of music. A lot of people don't really collect like CDs or vinyls or cassette tapes, at least not so much anymore. It's all digital. So like that can easily just, be wiped away. I actually cough books, yeah. I actually the other day bought my first DVD. I've never owned a DVD. I don't even think I own a CD actually. I just
Oh snap!
Yeah. I wasn't ever like I liked music, but I wasn't like so into it where it's like, okay, let me just carry around this huge CD player and listen to music. Like I was fine like listening to like just the radio, and then MP3 players came out, probably somewhere in like middle school, high school. So like I didn't like, I don't know. I don't know. I always heard music and, music was always around, but like I was never really like an audiophile. I was never really into like music like that hard. But yeah, I bought a DVD from a thrift store. So I was like, you know what? I think it's important to have like, physical media. I think that's important. I have video games. I have physical copies. I believe in that. Even though I don't even know how much that matters anymore, because when you buy a video game, you need to download it, or you need to immediately download the update. So it's like, what is this? What is it that I'm actually playing? Yeah.
What's the point? Wait, people are losing digital media that they paid for?
Yeah, that's true. Like with PS5s, I've heard about that.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like video. Yeah, that's been happening.
What? Or I don't know if it's the newest anymore, but that was like, what now? Oh my lord. Let me take a bite of gum. Go. So
shows off the service to get out of paying royalties. What a piece of crap.
I reacted to this like, I think I said something out loud like, "Oh my god," and I was like, "Oh," but that Elle didn't think I was talking about what she was saying, because I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of wild." Like, I wouldn't past the corporation to do that, but that's kind of gross. Like, I know a lot of things that canceled. Netflix is infamous for doing that, but I didn't know part of it was for royalty reasons. That's actually kind of terrible. Like, especially when it's popular shows that like had a good first season and they're like, "Oh, canceled."
Yeah,
that's what we're doing now.
Which is sad too, because a lot of those shows could have very well had like multiple seasons. It would have been perfectly fine. But again, with a lot of costs and expenses, it's easier to get hooked. It's easier for some. Pause, stop, rewind, stop, play. It's easier to hook somebody in, milk it for what it's worth, and then leave, versus put in the extra hard work to keep them there and keep them entertained, especially if you know you got something good that's actually worth making a lot more money over time, and not necessarily, the instant gratification of yeah, we made our first million here, so we're gonna dip off. Even though we know we could probably do a little bit more because the show was good and great, the writing was awesome, the acting was on point. Like we could probably do a little bit more, but we don't want to. We just want to make our first million and just leave. Like, really? What about the people? Like,
Yeah.
what about the ones who actually paid a little bit extra just so they can watch and enjoy? But yeah. Oh my goodness. I got that one. I'm like, yeah. And even then, like, I don't like to swim anyway, so that works out perfect for me. So that works. That works. That works. Stay away from a body of water. You got it. I got you. Yes. Yes.
Now, I wonder because right now I'm on a bit of a binge watch of one rather big corporation subsidiary, and I know there's been some.
You can't say it.
No, not until I finish. Only because I'm just very, very protective and careful.
Okay.
But I got close to one. I got one big show finished, but there's more to still be done. But I know that like fans, yeah, like you have original content can be difficult, so people try to milk other properties, and that doesn't always work well. I'm kind of curious on what examples you have, Chad, about what some of those metaphorical dumps. Like, yeah, there's really some fans. Like, I feel like just some of the things I've heard, I'm just like, wow, these people are not doing their fans well. Like, why would people choose to do this or do that? And it's kind of sad because of whatever creative reason or just laziness or whatever. I would say it, but I feel like people say it so seriously. I would say wokeness and diversity. That's a joke. But I feel like people will use that as like an easy like target when it's like actually other things that are not good. And then maybe there's a coincidence with certain more diverse casting or stories. So it's just like very interesting to kind of see like, I mean, it's sad more so, but like, I guess it seems like fans aren't being listened to in certain areas, or corporations just make what they want with critically bad results over and over, and you have to kind of do a reset and find yourself again. But, anyways, yeah, so was appropriate.
I know before stream, I was scrolling through Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Not calling it X.
Yeah, do not call it by its slave name.
Nope. Not even. I'm not giving that man the benefit. Nope. Calling it Twitter. Leave it how it's supposed to be. Anyways, I was on Twitter, scrolling and whatnot, and I had ran across a little cartoon clip of Schoolhouse Rock. I'm a Bill, and how it kind of got updated, and a lot of what was saying made sense. Like, what do you mean? So, of course, I'm just a Bill. Yes, I'm only a Bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. As he's singing, limousine comes, runs him over, backs up, runs him over again. Out steps out a lot of money, and he's saying, what you're saying, you're not wrong, but there's a new way of how things are being done, and so we're going to teach you how these things are being done in such a way where it's out with the old, in with the new. And so basically, what the Lot of Money was saying, that major corporations, companies, heads of various other high-ranking places, they funnel money through fake charities in order for those fake charities to be able to get bought into the pockets of our politicians, who then in return make laws on behalf of the companies, the corporations, with tax breaks, tax write-offs, things of that nature, and yet leave the people who elected them in the first place out of the loop. And so as these companies and corporations are in the back pockets of the politicians, it makes you stop and wonder, like, okay, why are we electing them in the first place in order for them to get turned over to the companies and the corporations we were trying to go against? And yet here we are doing this. He was like, well, bud, we don't want the average American to get involved in the American politics because they don't know what's best for them. We do, because we control them. And if we control them, we control the narratives and all this good stuff. And so as Bill, as he was pretty much dying and everything else, he was saying, the water money was like, do you have any last words? He's like, yeah, like, we need better representation. We just need to do better because this is not it. And coincidentally, when I look at the American politics as of right now, yeah, it's like that. It's nerve-wracking. It's irritating because it's like, okay, we vote you in office to work on behalf of us, but you say you're working on behalf of us, but yet at the same time, if we pull up your voting record, it's not for us.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you technically working for? Because obviously you're not working for us. You're working for somebody else. And from what I've been told, that's called a conflict of interest. That can't happen.
Right.
And with the conflict of interest with the with most employers, typically you get fired on the spot, no ifs, ands, buts about it. And even then, it's by both employers, not just the one. You get fired by both. So, like, if we do the politicians the same way, would we be in a better America? And even then, I'll say this, and I'll be done. Even then, talking to my daughter, she was like, the way how America is going, she was like, not happy about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. She was like, what's the average age of a person in Congress? I'm like, well, you kind of look at it. She's like, what do you mean? Like, you do realize, like, Joe Biden has been in the political scene longer before I was even thought about. She was like, what, really? Like,
Yeah, like 50 years at this point.
like quite literally, like before I was even thought about. This man was already in public office. Here he is, 81, as a president. And she was like, well, how come nobody's put a cap max as far as how long you should serve in office? Like, oh no, it's been done. It's just been shot down because people don't want to change. People who never had power get some power and they don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
Which is why you have, senior citizens who are still in the Senate chambers, who are still in the House of Representatives and making laws because they don't want to lose something that they've never had. And so it's like, yeah, there's also called this thing called term limits. But at the same time, again, nobody wants to give that up. Okay, so how come they just can't retire? Like, why would you retire from a place where you're going to get paid for the rest of your life? And even then, when you decide to, quote unquote, leave office, you still get a paycheck because you get a pension because you serve. So it's like, you could easily buy your way back in somehow, some way. Easy. And she just kind of was like, you know what? This sucks. I'm like, welcome to American politics, where when you think one thing makes sense, you actually think about it, it doesn't make sense. And so now you're trying to figure out how in the world do we make sense of a lot of the nonsense. It'll hurt your head. It'll hurt your head.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, when it comes to like the whole holding on to power thing, like corruption I can understand, but like the holding on to power thing, it's like it's just what I can't comprehend because like I guess I just don't know or have anything that I can like equate that to, you know, like to hold on to power and then to just like do that for like the rest of my life. I guess it's just I mean like now with the Supreme Court ruling then the president has even more power, sadly. But I don't know. It's just if I'm just like not a state senator, but like a senator, like a you know, in the like a because I know there's a state senator, like you know, like a big senator, main senator.
The U.S. senator.
Thank you. I was like, it's not like the House senator, but yeah, like a U.S. senator. I know that's a lot of power. Like that's a very good chunk of change of power. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I don't know. It's like how much am I really? I'm not saying I'm not doing anything if I were a U.S. senator, but like how much am I really doing that? I'm just like, is it just like to see the whole, be part of the whole goal for the country? Is it like that level of power that I don't want to lose because like I don't know because like I've thought about like running like if I get older and you know like when I get older and you know if I'm like still into politics and I want to like run for something, you know, like that's not something I want to do for the rest of my life, you know. It's like I want to do something that's like be like a governor where I just have like 2 terms sort of thing and then you know I just call it a day. Like I wouldn't want to be like a senator and then you know just keep rerunning. Like I mean yeah, I could probably like set a precedent and be like let me try to get some kind of not internship, maybe like apprenticeship of like of some people. So like when I'm like in my 60s or 70s and I'm like I want to stop working because working for the rest of my life is never something that I want to do. I'd rather just like I don't know, have a farm somewhere or like have a little garden and just be with my friends and spouse and crap like that, you know, family. But I'd want to like an apprenticeship to be like, hey, this is like everything that I know, and I want to like pass this down to you because like y'all have a better idea of what's going on. Like, you know, like I'm not even old, you know, like I'm still like in my early 30s, and I do not know what the heck is going on with like a lot of these artists, these music artists. You know, like I'm not even trying to be hip. Like I do not care who they've dated. I don't care who they're sleeping with. I can't follow. I don't care about like their albums or their names much. It's like if the music sounds good, I'm all for it. Like I'm just like kind of like at that point. Of course, like keep me updated on who's like just like absolute like bastard, who's just an absolute just like terrible person. Then sure, I'll stop. Like I'll look into it. If I agree, then I'll stop listening to their music. But other than that, I'm not really trying to like be hip with Gen Alpha or Gen Z. Like I do not care. So yeah, like if I ran for office, then I would kind of want the same. It's like, yeah, y'all know better than I do, so you know, do what you think is best for this country. Like I've trained y'all. I hope y'all know what's good and what's not, what's corrupt and who's corrupt and who's not, and try to just get a better look for the country. But yeah, I like what I like. Just give me my soup and tapioca. Yeah. And I like those things now, so maybe I should retire.
There you go. And it was funny you said that too, because again, my daughter, she was like, "Yeah," she's like that. She's like, "How old do you have to be to become president?" I'm like, "I don't know. You got a smartphone? Look it
35.
up."
Yeah.
So she looked it up for herself because I want her to educate herself. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah. Good.
you're 35." I'm like, yeah. She's like, "Dad, you're 35. You could run." I'm
That's
like,
true. That's true. You are 35.
Oh, that's okay.
like,
Know your exact age.
yeah. It's so she's like, yeah. She said, "You're 35. You should run." I'm like, yeah, I probably could. Should I? I don't know. But could I? Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so she was like, well, you know, if you're 35 and you run in an office, like, that would be great because, like, at least I know someone who will at least try to do something right, you know? And so she was like, so what do you think would probably be like a good cutoff age for somebody who's already in office to kind of leave office? Like, well, think about it like this. Think about your grandma. Like, how old your grandma is? She's like, she's about 60, 60. I'm like, okay. Technically, at 55, she's considered a senior citizen. She's like, wait, what? Like, technically, at 55, she considered senior citizens. But because of the fact more and more people are living longer, that age has gone up a lot more. So probably like 60, 65, 70, 75, you could possibly be considered as a senior citizen. Like my grandmother, she's like 80, 81, but yet she looks like she's still in her 70s and is acting and moving along as if she was in her 70s. You would never guess she was in her 80s at all.
Mm.
And she's like, yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, so it's like to kind of put that in perspective, which, and again, I think somebody had a similar policy that was running for presidency at one point in time. It's kind of like more so an apprenticeship, take somebody underneath their wing, show them the ropes, and then once they decide to retire, that person would not necessarily step into that role, but would have to run for election to take that person's seat because, again, why not? I think somebody did have a policy built on that. Back in, I think, was it 2020? Somebody had that kind of policy. I could be wrong, but someone had said something very similar to the lines of what you were saying now. Very similar. Like, that was very smart. He was pretty much, yep, I'm dropping this one too. He was ahead of his time before he was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, because in order to keep the country up to date and young, you got to get rid of, the old people. Sorry to say, because like when they say like, oh, if somebody like these are the only jobs that they can really like apply for because they've outaged all the other jobs. I know, like it's sounding like I guess like ageist or something, but it's a valid concern. Like we're still traumatized by what happened with Ruth Bader Ginsburg because like if she didn't die when she did, or if she just retired when Obama was elected, like I'm sure Obama was trying to, we the landscape would look far different. I'm glad that people are getting more. At least I hope so. At least I hope people are tuning in more now because I know that voting turnout is still just we're one of the lowest countries of voter turnout. Like a lot of people just don't really go and vote because reasons. I understand that for a lot of people, like it is very, very difficult to, and I get that. I understand that. There's also just a lot of people who just think because voter suppression exists, in a different county than them, then they shouldn't vote because it's like Well, voter suppression, like we're not going to win anyway when like they're actually totally fine, and they should just still go vote anyway because you need to vote for like your mayor and your city commissioner and your you know wastewater person if you vote for that person like we do here. We vote for like the clerk of courts. Like that's actually up for re-election. Like this chick has got to go, and I'm glad that another black woman's running against her because I feel like some people didn't vote for the didn't vote. Well, she would have lost if like the two other candidates didn't split the vote, but maybe there's an actual shot this time.
That was muted. Who said who was this?
The clerk of courts for my county.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, my bad. I should have specified that. Yeah, most of these people will have. Go play some golf. Yeah, that's true. It's true. Like they have, yeah, like they have money. It's like go retire and just, stop trying to change the country in your way because reasons like that. That's another thing that pisses me off too. Like I don't know. Is it like they're afraid that they're just gonna have nothing to do? Like there's things to do,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I'm a firm believer of like my public relations professor in college, who was like a staunch Republican, said these words, and I believe it. Like all the time, like I quote it all the time. If you don't vote, you can't bitch.
Yeah, I've heard that. Or
yeah, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And I'm like, I agree, and I think it should also be used with other parts of your life and life too. It's like if you're complaining about work being boring, but you don't try to make work more fun, like schedule happy hours or I don't know, bring in a deck of cards or something, then you're not trying to solve the problem. You're just complaining. Like
sure.
But if you brought in a deck of cards and HR said you can't do that, then then you can complain.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, what kind
Yes.
of, yeah. So the same thing, but with voting, if you don't vote, you can't complain because you think everything is fine. It's annoying. Like, it's gonna sound mean, but it's very annoying being like in a group chat and somebody who doesn't vote is talking about politics and stuff like that. And it's like you don't matter. I'm sorry. Like your voice doesn't matter because you keep proving that it doesn't matter. You keep doing actions that say it doesn't matter. So why are you talking about this?
I agree.
Yeah. Like they need the perfect scenario to vote. Like it has to be a brisk day, a brisk fall morning, 70 degrees, birds chirping, sun is shining, and the perfect candidates are all up and down the ballot and that you can vote. Like, no, screw you, middle finger to you. No.
I agree.
Statistically, the numbers don't lie.
True. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Mhm.
And even then, I'll say this because I got in my mail-in ballot for the state, so cool, great. So
Nice.
now I'm gonna go, So to the person who needs going off of your example, El, just tell them, like, why don't you just get a mail-in ballot and just shut up and call it a day? You don't have to wait in line. You know, just fill out what you got to fill out. You can make your own perfect, serene environment, so that way you can vote in peace. You don't have to wait in line. You could tell Alexa that, hey, Alexa, put on birds chirping at 4:00 in the morning. You know, and you can set your AC to have a brisk breeze throughout the house. So that way, again, you have the perfect environment for you to vote. It's just you don't have to wait in line. You can do it from the comforts of your own home.
Yeah.
And again, going back to Rocky's point. So again, non-voter, statistically, you are insignificant because you have proven our point of how you can actually vote on your own time.
Mm-hmm.
Take stress.
Yeah. It's just it really bothers me because like whenever you hear the reasons why people don't vote, it's always just garbage. It's always garbage.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. Definitely agreed.
There's like I understand if like you want to vote but you're just uninformed of like the ways you can, or if like, you know, if you're like is this ID valid, I'm not sure if like what ways I'm afraid to do mail-in because of, you know, what's going on in Florida. Is that still okay? Like, yes, it's still okay. That I can understand. That I can get that. But please ask questions. Please try to get answers. You know, I understand like the fear, but if you're like a former felon, you're not quite sure if you can vote. That's especially in Florida. Totally understand that. I totally get that. That makes sense. Yeah. You know, you could honestly just call like your city commissioner. That's still legal. You can do that. Email them. Email like their office. Try to get information that way. I feel like that would be a very safe bet for sure. But yeah, maybe even if you're uncomfortable with that, maybe like looking even on TikTok, searching for that, search it on YouTube, you know, search it on Google, just try to get as much information as you possibly can. And this is, you know, speaking for former felons in the state of Florida. Because it's all just very, very wonky. But other than that, if you are not a former felon, if you are a citizen or you are eligible to sign up to vote and you're like, you know, the age of 18, you can even sign up at 17. But if you're going to vote at 18, that's still legal because, you know, you're 18. Early voting is fantastic. I always early vote. I'm sure I've told this story. I tell this story all the time. I used to have a washing machine that would count down 58 minutes. I once put on a load, went to vote, went to go buy some like liquor because I think I was hosting a party or going to a party or something. So I went to the liquor store, got some liquor, came home. And when I came home, I heard the washing machine chime go off. So I was able to vote and run an errand in less than an hour, technically, 58 minutes. So because there was like no line. When you vote early, there's never really a line. In 2020 there was, because 2020 was such a crazy, dire election. This is still going to be, sadly, a crazy, dire election. Things don't just stop after one election. I'm sorry, it's probably going to be quite a few times until, sadly enough, some of these people pass away. You know, like I'm sorry to say this, but this is just how things are at this time. I'll shoot you with the timer. Like, yeah, this is just how things are at this moment. But it's very easy to change. That's the aggravating part. When people are like, "Oh, are these really our two candidates? Are these the best that we can have?" It's like, well, if y'all voted for different people, we would have a different result.
Mm.
Like once again, we have like the lowest voter turnout of most countries. Like I think like 50% of people, a little over of that. Like let's for like crap and giggles do 52%. So it's never 100% of the people vote. That's understandable. It's never even 95. It's never even 90. It's 50. Like that's a failing grade of people who vote. So literally it's like 24% of the population is dictating like everything of like your whole life and all that, and like you're okay with that, and you're just gonna sit at home. That's so weird. That is so weird. That's so like that's so weird to me. It's like at least give it a shot. There's no like, please in your own damn city elections, please. People live. Yes, this.
I agree.
I wouldn't say forget the national. Like the national elections are important too, but the Supreme Court for sure. But know what's on your ballot. Look that up. Research that. Research the candidates. You're gonna find some really crappy websites because they're local candidates, and they're not trying to spend that much money or trying to really put anything out there. You probably didn't really get any ads from them because they don't have that much money because it's a local, they're running locally. I mean, people deny the primaries happened who themselves were involved in them, and I'm not seeing a problem with that rhetoric. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, like I'll even say this much too. If you have an issue with the candidates that's on the ballot, you can always do ranked choice voting. It's a thing, and from most states they got it passed, and in those states they got it passed, they've seen a better turnout with better quality candidates actually doing something. So the proof
I don't
is
think
in the
it's most
pudding.
states. I know some more states are getting ranked choice voting. I don't think it's most states have ranked choice voting. Does Michigan? I don't think.
Not well. Michigan has had it on the ballot for the past few election cycles.
That's good.
And
That's good.
And a lot of times it gets shot down quite a bit due to the fact that in most people's eyes, they don't see the quote unquote concept of like, but dude, it's really simple. Like, if you don't like option A or option B, but you have option C and D who you like, you can pick between the two and go for it. And so at least that way, when you look at it, when you look at things in the grand scheme, you see like, okay, your vote does matter, and your vote is very beneficial. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
then, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna, tag on to Rocky's point here. I see what you're saying, Rocky, and like, also voting in your own community is also sort of piggyback on what you were saying, Ron. Is like it's a good way to see your vote counting because like those are like those races are always fun because it's like I remember I met like my city commissioner now because like I went to go vote and like you could tell that they were like excited because I'm a black woman, so like I'm more than likely going to vote Democrat, and B, it's like I'm young too, so it's like I'm going up to like vote and they're like talking to me. It's like, hey, you should try to vote for this guy here because he was there, and this woman, I think this would be a great team. I was like, oh yeah, these were the two people I was going to vote for anyway, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is great, like we took pictures and stuff like that, but like it's just kind of fun because it's like you see them and like it's like and so it's just and like it's also good to like just follow like your local city social media too, just kind of see what they're doing, what they're up to. But like,
Mhm.
it's just kind of cool to see because it's like, yeah, I want to get new people in office. I'm
Mhm.
always for just getting new people in office. Like, I'm not upset about incumbents. It just depends on who the incumbent is and like how old they are and things like that and what they've been doing. But I'm always for new people. I'm always for because you got to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you
Oh,
put that. I know, they balanced it on his head.
oh,
Oh, they're balancing more stuff. This is exciting.
Mhm. Mm.
oh,
Now,
so
I really can't move because mhm, joys of having kids. Gotta love them. Yep, got an egg carton,
Yeah, doing a
but
good
is it
job.
fine?
okay, it's coming down. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, but no, seriously, like, please do. The more research you do, the better off. I will second that one, 100%, 100%.
Mm. Interesting.
And it's true. And even if you don't vote, that means you didn't vote. That means you voted no. So don't exactly. I agree, Rocky. It's like if you don't vote, then it means you were okay with the potholes.
Yep.
You thought the potholes were super. Like, they're grand. But they don't want to deal with like, the repairs and stuff and like the construction that may take like a couple of hours or like a day or two. Especially in California. I can't remember what part of California Rocky's in, but I know traffic is more than likely terrible.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hold on. Okay, so I had to look this up real quick, Ender. Obviously, it's only like if you're comfortable because I know school board districts are going to be quite local. But since you did
Yeah.
mention like since you mentioned this incident, I did a quick Google here. Gloucester County, Gloucester, if it's pronounced the way I've seen it in like Massachusetts and other states. Because I do see that someone brought in like guns. I didn't even know this happened, but I do see like apparently there's some armed boogaloos waltzing onto the school grounds in Gloucester County. Armed person of Gloucester County. Man with gun forces Gloucester County to be closed. Holy crap. Jesus. Yeah, he said that's us. Oh no.
Mm,
When you just have like representation in the worst way, you're like, yep, that was us in the news. Crap. I'm glad that at least like that was able to get shut down.
yeah, that's good.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah, I feel for you, Ender, because that's the kind of county I live in, where it's pretty much I would say like 80% red. It's 80% red. Hey D,
Hey,
Hey,
that's what's up.
but then again, when it comes to election time, it feels like it's 90% red. So I'm like, eh.
hmm.
Yeah, guess I've always been in relatively bluish areas, but maybe that also leads to some complacency. Like I've seen. I mean, I didn't really have a community in one of the last places I lived, but no one was like talking about voting. Um, if they were, it was kind of more like in groups that I was in or other people that I knew across the state or across the greater Boston area, and even here in Maryland. I mean, this is the first election since I moved back. I guess last year there were some municipal ones, but I really wasn't like I would really just not have had the time to have looked into enough of it to figure out what was happening because those I mean, it was November, but I don't know. It just It was pretty fast. But even here, I don't know. I just heard like a general apathy. I don't think really people mention voting, or if they do, it's just kind of like, oh, that's the thing. So I don't know. I think it's nice too if you're surrounded by people who are more, I don't know, engaged with it. Then you kind of feel a little bit more. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. We're all individuals, but it definitely helps when you kind of have some community. And I mean, I have a good. Oh, actually, D, it was you. I remember I was hanging out. I want to say this was like end of May, Memorial Day, and I think some people were talking about voting, like your family, and it was just interesting because it's like that doesn't really happen as much on my end, and so that was kind of cool, like just to even hear like people bring up like, oh, there's a primary, and like we had a Senate race, and Angela Brooks, who's she's the Democrat nominee. She could be the first Black woman senator from Maryland, and there's just so much that I didn't know. I was just like, man, this is like kind of foreign territory because like I've seen these names, I've heard these names, I hear about it on the radio on NPR. But it's just like locally, I don't hear people actually mention what's going on in the schools, like what's going on with education, who should maybe be running for blah, blah, blah. So I think it just becomes a little bit hard, like unless you're really engaged. Like 2020 was a whole different ball game. Like I was looking things up. I didn't do as much as I could have, but I was trying to look at the co-sponsor of bills, particularly related to basic income or like not even basic income, but like those kind of like recurring money bills. Like Tim Ryan had one. I know Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Ed Markey had one in the Senate. So I would kind of sometimes look, am I going to vote for this person or not, based on did you co-sponsor this bill? Now, I think when it came to the general election, I was a bit more like, yeah, we kind of just need to stop craziness from coming in. So let me just vote for the rep if they were like Dem. I mean, I think in that case, it was a little bit more like straightforward just because 2022 was a little bit different. I had a little bit more leeway. But 2020, I was kind of like, yeah, we're just going to, do what we need to do. But in the primaries, I was doing research. I was like, are you even worthy for me to give you a primary vote? Like I did vote for Ed Markey in that primary because he was being challenged by Joe Kennedy, who ironically was more moderate, I think, even though he was challenging Markey, who was an older guy. He was in office longer, but he was a lot more progressive. He co-sponsored the Green New Deal. Well, I feel like he's kind of a low-key member, but he did co-sponsor the Green New Deal with AOC on the Senate side. So I was like, you know what, Ed Markey, maybe I'll give you my vote. So I would say maybe I'm proud of that because I was like, I actually felt like I did something. Like I feel like in a lot of other cases, I was just like, these people are here. I don't even know what you're doing. I barely live in this community. I'm not even going to live here next year because I move so often. So am I even going to be in the same district with the same congressperson? Maybe not. So I mean, being here in Maryland, assuming that I'm here like for a long time in the same county and the same address, then it's like I can maybe start to like build some type of connection to figure out who these people are, what changes are being done, and what's best for this community. But it is tough, I think, if you're kind of isolated in that way politically, where you don't feel like a lot of people care or a lot of people pay attention to it in your own circles, friend groups, or otherwise. Philly's gonna be crazy. I'm not sure what's happening. I mean, I remember there were some primaries with I think it was last year with the mayor, right? But I imagine there's probably like just local for a chat. I'm guessing there's like local, like whether Congress or like local elections for Philly. Indeed, that's cool. That's really cool that they bring that like personal, like, yeah, how many people fought for you to be able to vote. I think it's also, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but like, because not all Black Americans are all like super enthused, but at least when you kind of have that direct generational, like, yeah, you can look at people who can actually point to a time where even if they could vote, it mattered less. You didn't have all the rights. I think when your parents are immigrants, there's a much different dynamic going on. Not to say that my parents don't vote, because I believe they do, but it's just, I think just culturally it's not imposed as much because you're not looking at like, we literally lived through the civil rights movement. We literally, our grandparents lived blah, blah, blah. So I think that it also doesn't help that there's not a culture of like instilling voting and politics because you just don't have that same history. And because literally we didn't exist in this country until I mean, I was basically born after we moved. So 29 years, less than 30 years that we've been in this country. So I think some of that also comes through. And I know that especially Asian Americans, that's a big experience. If their parents are immigrants, you're kind of just taught, keep your head down, do something that's very, you know, it doesn't have to be technical, but you want to do something that's like a good career. Politics was not in the mix. So it's just interesting to kind of compare different experiences in the general independent local race. Yeah, I did. I actually voted like a few different parties when I left Massachusetts in 2022. Well, the primary was a stream day, and I actually ended up missing. Like anyway, that was so dumb. I got to the place and didn't know where I needed to go, and I got there late, so I didn't get to vote in the primary. But I voted in the general in 2022. It kind of didn't matter some of the races, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it as best as I can. And I think I actually voted like a few different parties, and it was kind of interesting. This is kind of fun. But it was like Democrat, maybe Green somewhere. I think there was like a treasurer who was like libertarian, who I was like, but it was only because like I feel like, or I think it was like a tax, like some assessor, and some of them actually seemed to be like, I don't know. I think there's either an incumbent or someone who was endorsed by the governor, and the governor was like a pretty reasonable person. Like he was a Republican, but he had like 70-something% approval just because he's like the most moderate probably in the country, very low profile. So I just remember like, okay, maybe I'll follow some like other choices. But I feel like when it came to the governor and others, it was very much Democratic when it came to my vote for the general election. So I feel like this year it's like kind of hard because I'm like, I don't know. You have the Senate race. I guess that's the important one because some people are predicting that our Maryland also similarly had a governor who was a Republican who was also pretty moderate, actually wanted to primary Trump, but that was never going to happen. So instead, he kind of spoke out. So people thought he was going to do no labels. That didn't happen either. So Governor Hogan, Larry Hogan, he's actually running, which was a bit of a surprise that he's running for the Senate because a lot of people chose not to do that. Like the governor of New Hampshire is a Republican who's also pretty moderate. Not as liberal, but he definitely is a little more moderate. Like he's very pro climate change. And I don't know if he's super pro-choice, but I feel like there were certain things where like he was more moderate and he didn't run. Like there's a lot of people who were recruited that they wanted to have last cycle and they chose not to run. And so Hogan running was actually a bit of a surprise because a lot of governors or other people just chose to stay away from like Doug Ducey in Arizona. A lot of people just choose not to get into that mess of the federal. So Hogan going was a little bit of a surprise. I don't think he would win just because of like Maryland's lean, but he was governor for 2 years. Obviously very different federal races and governor races, but some people feel like it could be a more uphill battle for Maryland, considering there's so many other states that Democrats need to defend. So I'm like, okay, I guess here I'm going to go and vote for Angela Alsobrooks. Anyways, that's whatever. Don't roast me too much, but I didn't end up voting in the primary because like I was pretty overwhelmed around that time. I think, I mean, I didn't just start my new job, but it was just a lot happening that Tuesday. And I was like, I wanted to go. And there was just a lot that came down the pipeline that I had to do. And it just felt like way too much. And it sucks because it would have been my first election here in Maryland. And I could have really gone to the primary, but it just became a lot. And I didn't do the early voting. That was my mistake too, was I didn't pin those dates because then I could have just done it any day. But having to do it that Tuesday and things were getting a little bit more intense with work and then other stuff, I was just like, my goodness. So that was actually very annoying because I would have wanted to have had a little bit more of a say in the primary, but whatever. General election, I have to make sure for sure that happens this time. So I concur with a lot of people on stuff about the voting and the importance, even if it feels like it sucks. It's just like do something. Especially if there's ballot initiatives. That was the other thing about Massachusetts. There was like 4 ballot initiatives to vote on. So it was pretty big. Like we had a millionaire tax. We had like letting undocumented immigrants drive with a license. We were kind of cutting edge. Like Massachusetts, one thing that they'll do is they'll be cutting edge and do some stuff that maybe will piss people off, but they'll be innovative. And so I don't know if we were the first state to have that. I think it's just enshrined as like an actual state constitutional thing. that was a big deal. Then the millionaire tax, I think, was for sure the first thing that we've done. Or it may have been a multi-millionaire tax. I can't remember. And then I left. I voted and then I left a few months later. So I don't know what's going on with that millionaire tax and some of those other initiatives in Massachusetts. But in Maryland, I have to check and see if there's any initiatives. I know weed was legalized in 2022 in Maryland, so that was a big one. And then I'm not sure. It's ironic because Maryland's like the bluest area. Well, DC is for sure, and they've been legal for a while. But like Virginia somehow beat us, and they're like more of a swing state. So I don't know how that happened. But it's that's pray for me, y'all, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't even know what's gonna be on our ballot. I probably should know, but yeah. Shout out to Luis Lucas. Oh right, they did flip. They flipped.
It's still kind of early, as I know like a whole bunch of craziness is happening, but I don't know, things don't really start to truly turn up until like August.
Yep.
So we still have like a whole month to like let things marinate, let news cycles and stuff happen and stuff like that. And yeah, but like August is like, I know there's this one guy who predicts who the next president will be. He calls it like the 13 keys to the White House or something like that.
Yes.
And he always does his predictions of like in August. So I'm kind of like, relying on him in a way. So it's like, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think he had a video some months ago, and it was still a bit indeterminate at that time.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how things go, because he kind of does cut through a lot of the noise. He's like, none of this stuff matters. You just kind of focus on some of these things, and then see how things go. So we're in some weird different times, but it seems like he's still been accurate. Funny, 2016, he thought Trump was going to win. I'm pretty sure people flamed him. And
but he was right. Yeah.
And he was right. And in 2020, he said Biden's going to win. Of course, all the Trump people were like, who's this guy? Fake news, everything. And it's like, you realize this guy predicted Trump in 2016. So what are you guys really saying right now?
Yeah, he's predicted a lot of the presidents. He said that, like, they say, like, okay, he was wrong about Al Gore winning, but he claims that he was right because he got the majority vote. So.
And it did come down very, very close to just that one.
Yeah.
Your state. Oh, man.
I know. But what was like 532 or 538 votes. Like, that's it. And then you get a whole ass president. Like, that pisses me off. It's like, really?
Yep.
Like, at that point, it's like you should just really re-vote at that point. Like, I think that's what ended up. I don't know. I know there was like a whole long contentious thing for that, but I can't remember. But like, yeah, because like at that point, it's like, yeah, you should. And I think that really just turned a lot of people in Florida for voting, because we usually tend to have a pretty high voter turnout, like compared to like the rest of the country. Still not, exceptionally high, but I think just a little bit higher than the rest of the country, because that's not something you easily forget.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, y'all could have just totally changed the country. It's like, oh, damn. Like, it's like 500 and something people is not a lot at all.
No.
Like,
yeah.
It's like a high school. A high school graduation, at least down here, It's like...
My class was probably my class was close to 400 people, which is relatively small for some schools like Brooklyn Tech, and some schools that had like 1,000 plus. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. And some schools have way smaller classes, like under 100. So it's kind of crazy. I think my high school population was probably any given year in the 2,000 range. Probably, not that high. It probably would have been closer to 1,500 or 1,200 now that I think about it. just over 1,000 students. That might not be that much, but for a lot of other people, it's huge. Yeah, it's freaking Chads, bro. Like,
I know. Just always hanging.
just Chads hanging
They need-
out. What's going on?
They need to be put to work instead of just hanging.
Florida's a disproportionate amount of people with Twitch.
I mean, yeah.
It's so funny.
Eh, honestly, I do think we should start wrapping up, though.
Yes.
'Cause it is very close to midnight.
Okay, yeah, you said it. I think I was about to, you got to beat me to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my fault. But
No. No,
Mhm.
it wasn't your fault.
yeah.
Just-
Yeah, I mean we all were having
No.
a good-
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. As always, it's you guys. And it was nice to see, you know, we got our regulars who we always like. Chad, you're here. I remember there were some weeks I hadn't I don't think it was in a row. I just think I was like, oh, Chad, I didn't see it. Or like other people, maybe Gil one episode. And obviously you guys have lives. But it's always nice when you kind of have everyone. And then Ender, who I've seen a bit more recently, but it's like cool to see like a bit of a blast
Yeah.
past. The mayor, of course, Holistic Hottie. So, and D, my actual like personal friend who I know for a fact joined for my social media link that I always post way too late. So God bless you for seeing that in time. So thank you all for showing up here and engaging.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. And we'll see y'all in 2 weeks, July 16th. Hope y'all have a wonderful 4th of July.
Oh yeah, it is the 16th.
Yeah. Be safe. And, keep it hood.
Keep it hood.
Yes.
Yes.
Keep it hood.
Keep it
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
And with that said, we'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.